All right, let's try this again. Okay, let's try this again. I was without the microphone starting off, but today we're going live. We're talking about Zoom. We're going to talk about how to fix or manage a broken options trade, specifically my Zoom strangle. And we're also going to dive into the markets. We're going to talk about what the E-mini S&Ps are doing, and we're going to talk specifically about what the markets overall look like they might do moving forward, what's happening today. I'm going to dive into my Zoom trade. It was a busted strangle. I want to show you how I managed it this morning and then what my plan is moving forward over the next few weeks. So if you're here in the channel watching live, go ahead and jump into the chat and just let me know you're there. Drop me a line, let me know who you are, where you're from, and we'll go from there. But I want to go ahead and dive into the markets this morning and start talking about the E-mini S&Ps, and we'll just kind of see what the markets overall are doing. And then from there, I want to answer questions that you might have. So if you have any questions you want to ask, please drop them in the chat. We can chat about any topic. I do want to get to the markets first. So let me jump over to my charting software here. I'm using Tastyworks. If you want to use Tastyworks, it's a great options trading platform. There's a link in the description. If you use that link, the channel will get a credit, and I really, really appreciate that. So let's jump over and look at the E-mini S&Ps real quick. And right now, you can see that we're basically down 25 cents. Today has been an extremely flat day. We did move into all-time high territory, and then we retreated. We sagged a little, and now we're back nearly unchanged. We're down 75 cents. We've just been grinding higher, as you can see, just continuing to march higher. Little baby pullbacks along the way, nothing significant, and just heading upward. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ real quick. NASDAQ, same thing with the E-mini NASDAQ. We're up this morning to all-time highs. Then we sagged back down below the close of yesterday, and now we're just sitting still and doing really pretty much nothing. So very, very little activity going on in the NASDAQ today. And then if I go over to the Dow futures, same story. We're showing this kind of just a little doji candle. We moved up, we moved down, and now we're almost unchanged. We are up 16 on the day, and I didn't report the NASDAQ, what we are up or down. We're down 1375. So really pretty flat markets, not a lot going on. And volatility overall, if I do /VX, if you don't check volatility, it's super important when you're trading options. You can come to /VX, or you can type in VIX. And you can look at the S&P 500 volatility index from the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, and it'll show that we are having a little increase in vol today. Vol is mean reverting, meaning that when it pops up, it will revert back down to the mean. Option prices grow when VIX or volatility in general is up. So it's good to sell premium when it's up and then ride it back down and close your positions out once volatility gets back to those very low levels or to the mean. So /VX is showing sort of that doji as well. We're at 1880 right now. So nothing crazy in the VIX as well. I do want to check real quick and just see if anyone's in the chat. Go ahead and if anyone's here at the live stream, drop a chat. Let me know you're here. And let's go ahead, and if we want, we can start talking about looking at the Zoom disaster from this morning. So Zoom this morning or had earnings yesterday, and I set up a strangle, and I wanted to show you exactly what I did going into earnings, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about how I managed it today when I woke up and saw that it was down a whole lot. So right now we're looking at the Zoom chart. This is the daily chart. I think I got 3 years turned on for it, but you can see this upper line and lower line. The upper line's at 420, the lower line's at 295. And the markets closed last night for earnings. Let's hover this candle. Closed at 347.50 and then promptly just got crushed after the close in the after hours activity. Now today we opened up around 294 and we're currently trading at 290. So it's sort of been a disaster. I sold what is called a strangle, and that's where you just basically sell a naked call and sell a naked put. and you need the stock to stay in between. Now, what's interesting about this position is that I went ahead and I took care of this as a 4-day position, so it expires on Friday. Now, my hope was that it would stay in between, and then with vol crushing or dropping significantly after earnings, I'd be able to close this out for less than I got paid to open it. And I want to show you the volatility real quick. So what I like to do on Tastyworks is just type in a volatility, get a volatility chart here, and you can see that yesterday we were up here with volatility. If you're using Tastyworks and you want to look at volatility, you just type in the ticker and then .ivr, implied volatility rank. So zoom.ivr shows that we were up here in the 40s, and then after earnings this morning, we got this crush. You can see now we're trading down around 2140 for volatility, which means options prices are going to be cheaper, which means I can close my positions for a cheaper price than what I got paid, and I can keep the difference. So sell it here, buy it back here, keep the difference. Well, that didn't exactly work out today because we got beat up a little bit. So we've been breached, and if I go back to the chart, you can see right now we're at 290. We're just hovering in here. Nothing's really happening. It's just been kind of floating around here. So what my plan was this morning, because I had the 420 on, and this is where it gets interesting because you need to know, what do I do when it goes to one side and my untested side? What do I do with that? How do I manage that? And basically what you want to do, if I look at the 420 out here, you can see it's way out here, but you can see it's worth basically nothing. So just leaving it at 420 doesn't really do you any good because it's just sitting there. There's nothing really happening. So you want to make sure that you have something that can give you a little protection or have some effect on your trade. And what I mean by that is basically what these numbers in here mean. Like if you look at the delta of 0, it means that if this stock moves, $10, this call isn't going to gain any value because it's already all out. It's gone. So you can see there's no value in the delta all the way down until 370 where you'll get a penny. Now delta is just telling you that for every $1 move in the stock price, this is how much the options contract or the options price is going to change. So you can see even a penny, that's not going to do you any good either, because if the stock continues to move down, you want your calls to be making money. So what I did was I closed the call that was worthless, and then I reopened, or they call it rolling. I rolled down to 330. So now I'm in here, and even that is kind of crazy. It's only 5 delta, so it's not giving me a huge protection to the downside, but it's better than nothing, and I was able to collect a 75-cent credit. So what I'll do now is show you that I started at 420, and I'm going to edit this, and let's go to 330. So 330 is what I moved to. So I rolled it down here. So now this is my new bracket. I want the stock price to stay between these two lines over the course of the next 3 days. So hopefully it will pop back up and I'll be able to close at some point. But I added to the $1.75 that I got paid on this option, I added 75 cents. So I'm at $2.50 total collected credit on this. And now I'm just going to sit tight and watch this and see what happens. But right now it's just sort of hanging tight there. So let's take a look here. I think we have 3 people in the chat. So if you are if you're in the stream, say hello. I'm going to drop something in the chat. Feel free to ask any questions. Any questions? And we'll just say welcome. If there's anybody in the chat, let me know you're there. I want to say hello and know where you're from. But we're just talking markets and talking about my busted Zoom position. And currently it's just not gone very well. But I did want to show that off. So we did roll. So I rolled from 420 down to 330. I collected that $75 credit. And now I'm sitting tight watching this thing. I would love to see Zoom obviously move back up above 300. This is my strangle I have on. I also have an iron condor on. And the iron condor strike, I have a 300 280, so a $20 wide iron condor. And I can get into that at a later time. I just wanted to keep it simple with just picking one of the positions. So I went with the strangle just to show that off for right now and just to talk about how I managed it. Now let's get into what we can do moving forward. So I just said that I rolled it down from 420 to 330. And now you might be wondering, okay, so what if in 3 days it continues to drop? And so my plan for handling this moving forward is I'm actually going to go ahead and construct a roll. So what I have right here is basically the 295s on the put side. So you can see buying those back is going to be a little bit pricey. So maybe like in the 815 area. Hey, Cherry Lamb, what put strike are you in? Let me show you. So right here, I have the 295, 330. So Cherry, this is where I am right now. I sold the 295, 330, but I started out yesterday managing this or going into earnings with a 420, 295. So I'll double click this line so you can see it. This line's at 295. So 295, 420 was the strangle, Cherry. And then today when I woke up and saw that we had gotten beat up pretty good, I went ahead and I rolled from 420 down to 330 and collected another $75. So I've collected $2.50 on this one lot, so $250. And then now my bottom strike at 295 is sort of just being tested and hanging out. We're in the money, but it seems to be hanging. So my hope is that with such a large drop that we will get hopefully a little bit of a bounce, and then that would be hopefully enough for me to close this position out. Cherry, did you trade this at all? Did you jump into Zoom for earnings? I'd be curious to know. So my plan moving forward is to go ahead and roll this thing out in time. And what you can do, if I go to the trade tab, you can see if I cancel this out, and with this one I swap it. So if I want to buy back this 295 and I decide that I want to go ahead and buy back my 330, so I'm going to buy these back. That's going to cost me about $8.40. And then if I want to go ahead and roll out probably a couple of weeks, that I can go ahead and then sell something different. So I've been looking at a roll, and the potentials for those rolls can be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500. So the plan for me will be to roll out, but to roll out without creating any more movement. So I won't move my tested side. I'll only move the untested side. But the way I would like to go into it is just to roll this out as is. I'll leave both strikes alone and just roll it out and give it a little bit more time. Now, if this were a really aggressive breach, like if it were at 260 or something ridiculously lower, then I might look to manage a little more aggressively or even add a little more time. But for right now, I like to add a little bit of time, collect a credit, but not get too far out in time that I lose the weekly strikes. If you don't know what the weekly strikes are, the weeklies are just a more frequent area to roll to. And sometimes if I roll immediately to something like 45 days and I get a continued move to the downside and I want to roll again, then my only option is to roll to 80 days. So I'll only roll a week or two out, collect a credit, and then sit tight and watch it. And if I can get it to come back inside and I can close it out, great. If not, then what I'll do is I'll let a week go by and I'll look to roll out another week or two, try to collect a credit. And then if things get really ugly, then I can look at moving strike position around, moving the untested side. So Cherry says, I have shares. And then let's see, hope, wait a little, you are out with profits. Thanks. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that we'll get out unscathed here. We're sitting at 290, 291. We've been as high as, what's the high on the day? Let's take a quick peek here. So the high for today has been 295.87. We were out of the money for a quick second, which was nice, but it has been just really saggy and just kind of hanging out below my low strike. So anybody else in the chat that got into Zoom for earnings and being a little beat up today, any other option strategies you traded with Zoom? I'd be curious to hear that. I like to go with the strangles because it keeps me delta neutral. It allows me to attack from both sides, and I typically don't have an opinion on the market. So I like to just play both sides of it and not be committed to one side or the other. Zoom has good earnings number. Yeah, Zoom had decent earnings. I believe they even had a penny beat. They beat their earnings per share, or maybe they lost by a penny. It was like only within a penny, and then they had a revenue beat, I thought. Cherry, I don't know if that's accurate, but yeah. So it's been super interesting to be playing earnings trades all last week and having them all work out really well. I think Peloton was the only one that got a little screwy last week after that drop. Let me just check and make sure that's what I'm thinking of. Peloton had a nice drop after earnings. I'm not sure what's going on right here. But that's weird. We'll let that load for a second. That's odd. So any other earnings trades that anybody else has been putting on? See if I can get these charts fixed. I don't know what's going on with the charting software here. With Zoom, let's see. All right, so I got Zoom back up. All right, any other options trades that you guys put on? And I want to let everybody know that I do have Super Chat turned on, so if you want to support the channel, feel free to drop a Super Chat. I always appreciate those. And if you want to join my private Slack group where I trade every morning, there's a link in the description. Come over, grab a channel membership. Just click the join button on the banner of the YouTube channel. That'll get you in. $25 a month is what I charge. I try to keep it really inexpensive. We have a good group of people there. And you get access to the private Slack group, which is awesome because we share trading ideas and you get to see me trade live every single day. Any questions? Anything else going on? That's kind of quick. Just wanted to talk Zoom, show you options for ways to trade it, and how to manage this sort of broken situation. We're trading at 291 flat right now. You can see the candle right down here. It's just been kind of a sort of a disaster of an earnings trade, but hopefully it'll hang tight and we'll get a little move higher, and then we can slip out of this one. But let me know, and let me know what your plans are if anyone's trading anything tonight. I was going to trade Crowd. So CrowdStrike, this has earnings tonight. Oh, this was up earlier, now it's down. So looking at CrowdStrike, let's talk about this one real quick going into earnings. It's going to be after the bell today. I'm likely going to put on a 3-day trade, and I was looking at doing something, pretty far out of the way. Something maybe setting up a strangle, like a 5, like getting really far out of the way, maybe even 245 on the put side, and then maybe getting really far out of the way, like maybe 335. Something like this. That's really far out of the money. So that's a 4 delta and a 6 delta. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go here, 330. Looking at the 330, 245 strangle on Crowd. Pays $1.26, but with the IV crush going into the morning, hopefully that will eat up a bunch of that and maybe get out for a nice little profit for the day. I've had some good luck this past week. Been trading, putting my orders in, my good till cancel orders at 30% and getting filled at anywhere from 70 to 80% on the trade. So it's been working really well, but after having a Zoom slap down like we just had, it makes you a little tentative about getting back in and going ahead and putting on more trades, but it's all probabilities and occurrences, so we just got to keep plugging away. But anyway, any questions from anybody? Anything else we want to discuss? We've got 2 viewers in. And also was just curious to know how the stream's looking. If the video's good and the audio's good, let me know in the chat. But if not, I think we'll wrap things up. I don't know that there's anyone in the room right now. So we will go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you for stopping by. Come back tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone, so it's 11 a.m. for me, but I want to do live streams at 11 a.m. It's a good time for me, and also a great time to just be able to ask questions, answer questions, talk strategy, and then talk about upcoming earnings trades for the night. So for me, it's going to be Crowd, CRWD. There's also Campbell's. Let's see, Campbell's. CPB. CPB is another one, and I'd be looking at in here. I would probably be strangling this one, but it's not as interested in this one. Maybe something a little further out to get a little bit more premium, but I'll have to take a peek at this one tonight, see how that one works. But Cherry, stop by again tomorrow at 11. We'll do this. We'll go live. We'll talk about the CrowdStrike trade. I will update you on how my Zoom trade is going as far as the management, and we will go from there. So I hope you all have a good rest of your trading day, and stop back by tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern and 10 o'clock Pacific, and we'll do it again. All right, have a great one.